Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's time for another anime review for you guys. It's going to be on Beastars Season 2. I started a few weeks ago. I think I'm pretty sure I released the first impression video here when I started watching it. And it's a pretty good series. You can find it on Netflix. Like I said, more than likely in that video, Netflix sucks. They take a long time, almost 5 months after it actually finishes to be released. That's because they're trying to translate it into all the languages, have all the subtitles, have it prepared for it to be completely released all season together, which can take some time. But also Crunchyroll and Funimation are doing that like a lot faster. So why is Netflix taking so long? I don't know, but here we are on the review of Beastars Season 2. Now, before anything, guys, if you have not done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to reach 4,600 as soon as possible. So if you are watching this video and you guys like anime reviews, manga reviews, if you like anime reaction videos, then subscribe to my channel, get me to 4,600 as soon as possible, and we'll go from there. Also, you guys can follow me on social media, TikTok, on TikTok, on Twitter, and on Instagram are the best ones to follow me. There's also a Discord you guys can join, so make sure you guys join. We follow the story again of Legoshi, and Legoshi is involved in multiple things. But what I also like about this story is that we also see a little bit of Louis's story. And let's start with Louis. He is the reindeer from our season 1, and he got lost. And eventually we find out where he is. He becomes the leader of like the lion gang that's in the black market, the ones that control the meat, and he becomes the leader of them. We see this gang at the end of the season 1. He becomes the gang member, the gang leader, and he essentially gets to a point where like you wonder, like, who is he? Like, why is he doing all these things? And it really doesn't make sense why he's doing it, other than he's trying to figure out who he is in this world of carnivores and herbivores. And essentially he starts eating meat in front of them to kind of place his leadership in front of all the lions, saying, I am like you guys, I eat like you guys. And that obviously is not well for his diet. We also see him essentially get the black market rolling more together as a whole. With carnivores and herbivores. Through his eyes, we see different things that happen. Like, for example, we meet this one antelope girl who is like a stripper in their black market, and the whole deal with it is that the carnivores are getting a sexual need out of it, but also a hunger of seeing a herbivore like in its natural habitat. Like, it's weird. We see how these stripper girls eventually basically end up being eaten by their clients. That's what their destiny is, essentially. So it's one of those like weird, this is what's happening in this world outside of the school kind of scenarios that we get from the eyes of Louis, and that's great. At the end of the whole story, he basically ends up leaving the gang, and there's a lot of drama amongst that, because there's obviously members that are close to him, and some members that are close to him but they don't want him to leave, and they do things. I'm not gonna go into details. I want you guys to watch it. But Louis' story, pretty amazing. We see him from when he was little. We also see his relationship with his father, why it's broken, and it's pretty good deal for him story. With Legoshi and Haru, we don't really get a good conclusion out of what we saw in first season. Second season, it's a lot worse between their love relationship. Basically, Legoshi at one point of the season distanced himself from Haru because he wants to better himself and become this carnivore where he doesn't need to eat meat, and he basically puts her away. And at the end of the story, he's like, well, I'm thinking I'm gonna drop out of school, and she's like, well, I'm gonna find a boyfriend. He's like, no, don't do that. So there's still that tension, there's still that, you know, we like each other, but we don't want to do anything about it, which kind of sucks, to be honest, because the whole first season was mainly about Haru and Legoshi, and then they're not really a big deal in season 2. We do see the story of Legoshi finding out who the killer in the first season was, and basically him capturing him. And it is an intense story, because it was almost halfway through the season he finds out who it is, and it's a member from the drama club, and it's this big dude. I'm not gonna say who, so you guys can see the story, but essentially we get a little story of him as well, the killer, and we sympathize with, you know, he needs to do all these things to fit in society, and yet still deep down he has these urges. And essentially what ended up happening is there was an accident, and his urgely beast urges came out, and basically he ended up eating up his friend. And that's, in his eyes, it was something beautiful, because his friend said, you know what, this is my destiny, and he thought it was something special to do to kill him. Obviously it wasn't. So Legoshi basically trains under the panda that we saw in season 1, and he becomes this like vegan, essentially, wolf, and he vows to not eat meat. Now I will say, it really becomes like, at one point it feels like they're kind of promoting, be a vegan, right? You know, you're eating animals, you're eating other creatures of this world, and they have feelings, they have life, you don't respect life. And it's kind of a weird motto that we get throughout the whole season of like, are you trying to make me vegan? But at the end of the day, Legoshi still ends up eating meat. I'm not gonna say what he ends up eating, or who he ends up eating, gosh, but he does end up eating meat at the end of the season. It's a very shocking thing, because throughout the whole season he's basically training not to do this, and then he ends up doing it, and it's kind of annoying to see this, but he does. And what ends up happening is that he does become stronger as a wolf, and he's able to defeat the guy who the killer. They both still get arrested because they both still ate meat when they're not supposed to. So the only exception is that Legoshi, through a lot of testimonies and stuff like that, they essentially made it okay for him to get out. But it's still in his record. He's a meat eater. He's someone who's eaten meat out of someone else. So that's why he decides to drop out at the end of the season. That is all, guys. There's definitely more room for story if they wanted to add more, especially with Legoshi and Haru. I don't see them doing a season 3 anytime soon. There wasn't really a big, this is the big cliffhanger of the season, because they did really conclude most of it. Things that I liked about this season was they went deeper into the outside world. Like I said, we saw a lot of things through Louis' eyes, what happens outside of the Beastar school, and we see basically how people end up, like some herbivores, they end up in debt, and they end up selling some of their body parts as meat, and they get money out of that. And you know, it's kind of a weird world that you don't think of all this stuff. Like, you watch movies like Zootopia and other stuff like that, and you're like, oh yeah, they can live together and be okay. Like, there shouldn't be any issues with them. But no, yeah, there will be issues. There will be issues between someone who their body tells them and wants them to eat meat to be healthy, where the other one doesn't eat it, but you know, is also the food to his friend, right? So you get a lot of that insight, and I like that about this season. What I didn't like about this season was the whole Haru situation. Where's she at? What's going on? We do get snips and bits, basically, of, we know that Haru likes Legoshi likes Haru. They like each other, but nothing's happening. So it really bothered me that they didn't continue that story, or at least have them date or something. They didn't do anything with that. So I was bothered about that. Out of 10, I'm gonna give this one a 8 out of 10. I think my anime list puts it at 7.96 time recording, so it could change, but I placed it at an 8. I think it's a good series, mature series, I will say that, because there's a lot of there's gore and there is sexual themes that go around the whole story, but other than that, I think it's a great story. It does a good job with showing this world that we've seen in other stuff. We've seen it in other movies and series, but it takes a little darker side to it, and I like that. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this. If you haven't done so by now, subscribe to my channel, comment, like, and share. I'll see you guys in the next video. I do have more stuff coming out for you guys this week, so yeah, it's coming out. I am starting to work. This is coming in a few days, so I will be working. So stuff will coming out slower, maybe still recording on the car. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for love and support. Like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.